Before I went to Ottawa, I was a government employee. Actually, I still am. I became sick in 2015. In 2015, I decided to stand up against my government, and I became a whistleblower. Yep, that's right. And I gave documents to our government with explanations and supporting documents and everything else. This is when my life started to go down. Because when I did that, they used everything they could to attack me. For years before this all started. So when they did that, I started to use the system. Now there's a lot of speakers that are just absolutely amazing here. And actually, you know, I'm taking notes because they're actually speaking about all the same things that I speak about. In 2015, when I became a whistleblower, I also left my workplace because of my sickness. Instead of the government helping me, they decided to cut my long-term disability off with no notice. They decided to cut my long-term disability off with no notice. They decided to use my union, Unifor, against me, and absolutely useless union, and one of the worst Canadian decisions for Labour ever made in Canada. So I went to DIP councils and things like this, and they beat me. So the only recourse that I had, I was told, is sue them. So now I'm 6 years into a lawsuit, Dana Lee versus Saskatchewan Government and Canada Life. When that happened, I started to research the different ways that a citizen could complain. There are things that we start off with, like the ombudsman in each province. There are places like the PIDC, Public Information Disclosure Commissioner. Ombudsmen, they investigate fairness, whether a decision was fair. The PIDC, they investigate whether there was wrongdoing. So, funny enough, as I'm doing these very lengthily, as Stand For Thee said, it takes time to do all of these things. So I couldn't talk about some of these things in my initial speeches. But now it's come to a head. And now my first court appearance for suing the government is in November. Of course, this month, they tried to do something very strange. They tried to throw out all cases for long-term disability that PEBA, Public Employees Benefits Agency, has fought against. In over 10 years, they've never helped anybody that put in a disagreement. They actually fought against every one of them. My lawyers that I have 8 lawyers on this case. My lawyer bill is astronomical for 6 years of fighting. More than many people pay for their homes, okay? So they tried to throw this case out and have it decided by other means, but they don't say what other means are for. My lawyers told me to let's not go to court in November, and let's see what they have to do in their thing. And they advised their other clients to do the same. I said no. I said thank you for the advice. What we're going to do is we're going to show up, and I'm going to go under oath, and we're going to keep it on them, because this is exactly the game they play. So as far as standing up for Canada, I wrote something the other day, and I have a lot of writing on my website. It is peace-man.ca, and I implore you to go to the About section and look at the blog. There is a blog there that is called Exposing the Hydra. Because what we're fighting right now is a invisible beast. So I've named this the Hydra in order to speak to people, to have them understand about this Hydra that we are fighting. So as I continue to add sections to this Exposing the Hydra, the first one was about self-awareness. And it's funny because 3 of the speakers all mentioned this today. In order for us to continue, we must have self-awareness. And this is what people like us have. We want to ask questions. We want to look at discernment and make our own decisions. And we want to come together and we want to talk about it. On the internet, things get distorted, let's say. And people are able to infiltrate the internet a lot easier than it is to infiltrate groups that come together. So when I went to Ottawa, I went with knowledge, first of all. I went with actionable things that I've been doing. Like, does anybody know here what ATIP means? It's our access to information in Canada. Last year, in the middle of a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, only 1,700 applications for access to information were made. 1,738 to be exact. I did 5 of them last year, okay? But the most important one is this one right here. And it was done just days after I heard on August 13th of 2021, our Prime Minister say in a scrum that he was going to come out with federal mandates. But I had also recorded on June 26th, which happened to be my birthday, him saying that he would never bring in mandates, correct? Right. So when I heard this, I was like, whoa, wait a second. What is the legal path? What is the legal validity into these 2 mandates that he is putting out? So October 8th is when he made the official announcement. Before he made the official announcement, I had already done my ATIP request into the legal validity, okay? I'm gonna read just that little part. I am requesting all records between December 1st, 2020 and October 6th, 2021 associated with the legality / legal path of Justin Trudeau's announcements August 13th, 2021, and subsequently the implementation of these mandates regarding A, COVID-19 vaccinations for federal employees, and B, travel, domestic and international, to and from Canada, not only Canadian. I will allow to exclude drafts, if not a final version, publicly accessible information, because I can get it myself, correspondence from the public, and records requiring confirmation for cabinet competences. So I allowed them to exclude those types of documents, and I put in my ATIP requests. Now, ATIP requests are to be addressed within 30 days when you put in your ATIP request. And then they take it and they assess it and they decide on 2 things. Actually 3 things. Either if it's a simple request, they just give you your information that you've requested. If it's a more difficult request, they can put what's called an extension on it, and they can give you a date, and that date could be Well, I'll tell you that they put an extension on mine for 1,875 days. That is 5 years. Now, when they placed that extension, I noticed that they did not follow the ATIP Act, which is law, okay? So I argued that their extension was placed illegally and that it needs to be reversed. After several communications, I get the director of the DOJ on the phone, and I record them. This is all on the website, the recording, everything. And it's under the page called ATIP on my webpage. So they were saying to me they wouldn't respond in writing. They only wanted to call me. 5 attempts at calling me, and I kept saying no. No, no, no. You answer me in writing. They did not want to do that. So they did it on a phone call. So I recorded the call. And they said that they followed all the rules. I proved through the legislation that they did not. In the ATIP Act, there is what's called fairness. When they gave me the choice on whether they wanted to put an extension or a hold means that they can take time to gather the information, but you can slowly get the information until it's all gathered. I would much rather have a hold because they tell me that there are over 480,000 documents connected to my request. So they are only allowed to give me 90 documents per month, and that's how they came up with 1,875 days. So when I went to Ottawa, I'm going to read you something that I had to write my lawyer yesterday. Because on Thursday, I went to her office to look at the disclosure from the police because I was arrested for standing in peace. Literally only standing in peace. Everybody's seen it. Not just Canadians. Trust me, I get mail from all over the world daily. Daily. Okay? I think our meeting was educational on both our parts today. You might be figuring out now that maybe some have not been so upfront on what they've been doing. As per the disclosure, I see a few things. First off, it shows I was totally cooperative. It shows lack of investigation. It shows they assume I was in some convoy, some freedom convoy, when I did not know one person there. Remember I wore a head cam while I was standing? Nobody has seen any of that 45 hours of footage that I have. I showed 19 minutes to 6 lawyers, and they said, you cannot put this out there. They'll use it against you. And in that 19 minutes, all it is me walking up to Parliament and speaking to the very first officer that I met. It's very interesting. When you do see this, and when it does come out, you will understand why. While I was there, I made friends. Are they saying that it is guilt by association? I took almost no still pictures of myself, but there are thousands all over internationally. In my release from JCCF saying that I am not going to take any deals, they've offered me 5 deals. All of them come with an admission of guilt. I am not guilty. I am not guilty. I am guilty for standing for you. But why? Why did I catch their attention? Why did that army truck, those police officers split open, and that army truck came directly for me? Videoed by helicopter, by the way. Motive to illegally arrest me. I basically globally shamed them. Their investigation is incomplete and inadequate. I see one note with my name used incorrectly. I believe that when they did check on me, they stopped their investigation, and in my disclosure, there was a bunch of blank black pages. We know what that is, right? That's called redaction. Now, why would they redact their own stuff to bring me to court when I can't even fight on that stuff? So I found out what those redactions were. Those redactions are actually, it is my secret level jobs I've done for the government. They're not allowed to put that out there. They can't even put it in court. I can't tell you about it. But I've worked at Parliament Hill, D&D, CSIS, War Museum, Diefenbunker, every building in Ottawa for the government. I have been in every one of those buildings security cleared. Okay? I did my duty as a Canadian. I can mention things like me training Ottawa police officers in 1996 at their homes, at my home, and at their inner city police stations. Things like this should be considered, right? But if you look at the paperwork that they've put out, none of it is even in the disclosure. And if it is, it's blacked out. I was a victim of abuse for most of my life as a childhood. Because of that, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me to be caring. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a medical problem where I have a hard time speaking sometimes. I've been on the front cover of the papers many times before. You may not know this, but I've helped the Jerry Lewis Telethon. I scaled a building one time to save a lady's life when the building was on fire in PA. I've done many, many things across this country. I tell you it all for a reason. Maybe the ATIP Act investigations also gave them motive. Filed and disputed already with no lawyer and won a reversal of extension, something they told me they did not have a process for. Because once an extension is on, it's not lifted. It has been lifted, and I did win. It is now in hold. Something that is not done, there is now a complaint and an internal investigation at the DOJ of the DOJ director of ATIP. Me as the victim and the complainant. Or maybe it's the PIDC, Public Information Disclosure Commissioner, investigation 3 years old already. Or maybe it's the Dana Lee versus Government of Saskatchewan and Canada Life, formerly Great West Life, 6 years in. I already told you about the filed motion and a couple other things. So the other day I wrote this online, and I actually got kicked from a group, a French group that I've been in for all these years. I'm not a freedom fighter. I'm a freedom and rights activist. I don't like using the word fighter, and after I read this, you're going to understand that I don't like a few of the things in our movement. And this is what people don't like me talking about. Everything that we are experiencing today is all due to the root causes that are not being investigated in Canada. To stop this bad direction of our country, we must call for an investigations on the root causes of the impending destabilization of our country. That's right. One of the goals to be able to keep furthering their agenda is the destabilization of democracy, wealth, reputation, civility, currency, economic, health, food, resources, family, and so on. In that family has all these other ideologies included, okay? As citizens, we need to act, but our focus is split that way because it's obviously planned to do that. Now, if you've got a world domination plan, or if you've gotten countries to sign an agreement like we did in 1995, which was never told to the people. It wasn't on any running platforms, none of this stuff. Nobody even knew until the 2000s, okay? But they were actively working in the background, obviously, because we're experiencing that now, okay? Our citizens are losing faith in democracy, and the proper investigations need to be conducted. I believe our democracy is just not being used as it should. The written word is not being used. They're circumventing that with hate speech from our Prime Minister. Not one political party is asking the right, obvious questions to reach the root causes. The citizens were on the right track at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022. Do you know that the Freedom Convoy wasn't actually called the Freedom Convoy? It was called the Convoy for Freedom. And it was started by citizens. There was a group out there that was created in 2019. And it was called Canada Unity. Now, over all of this time, I have become great friends with James Bowder. And despite what other people think about him or his MOU or anything else, it's the premise that was ingenious that James did. The premise was that we as a collective voice sign a document to bring it to our government to be read in the House of Commons. Now, I don't know if you are aware, but there is actually provisions in our legislation that if our government gets infiltrated, that we have provisions as the citizens to fix that. And this is exactly what James was thinking in his head. And he got over 50,000 people join that group in 2020. At the same time he was joining Canadians in unity, there were others that were taking part in separatist groups. Others taking part in groups that were bringing bad press and all of this type of stuff. At the end of 2021, James restarted his group because Facebook took down his group. At the time, there was 50,000 people. I'll tell you right now, we have 93,000 members, which is not a small group. The MOU was signed by 372,000 people plus, and it was still being signed until he was pressured by a corporation to take it down. So he did that because he's about working with the people. We're about working together, right? So it was chaotic time. Everybody's going to Ottawa. We don't need bad press. But what did these groups that step in actually do? It was a massive asking of the public to start some kind of investigations, like so many other countries are doing. because of Bill C-18 and this, you are not seeing those investigations. These censoring of Canadians is not to preserve Canadian content. It's to preserve their narrative. Okay, that's it. That's end of story. That's all it's for, is so that you do not see what's going on in the world. For example, the medical consortium that Canada has based its direction has been found to have misinformed Canadian officials of pertinent information. What do we call that? Misinformation and disinformation. But there's something that I talk about a lot that I don't hear other people say. Missing information. It's the information that they told you, but they didn't tell you this. They only told you what they wanted you to hear. They didn't give you the proper medical reasons for masking. They didn't give you any of that because it was missing. The consortium headed by Dr. Fauci is now under investigation of lying to a congressional hearing in the US. This is not being questioned by one political party in Canada. Now, our whole country changed because of that. We are now changed. We're segregated and meet in a park, okay? It's ridiculous. So time is passing and it's being harder to uncover. We can fix this, and if we do, we fix the future of our children. You see, all these distractions on other things, every one of these speakers said, take action yourself. Do stuff yourself. Use the ATIP. Use the law. Use all of this stuff yourself. But people aren't doing that. They're blindly following groups. They're blindly following people that have misled you. I wanted to come here because I wanted to give you some hope. If you've watched me, you've watched my true actions, not what people have said about me. Okay? There's a lot of garbage out there, and oh my God, I just shake my head sometimes. It's ridiculous. Like saying I'm a cop. You know, that's out there. Policeman is my nickname. Did you know that? Pretty funny. Not funny to me. Not funny to me at all. Because I went as a voice of reason. The next thing I'm going to read you, this is the time though. Let's not have our voice stolen. Because before any person got to Ottawa, our voice was stolen first by our PM that used hate speech and divisive politics to negate our voice. 372,000 signatures was at the time 99% of the or 99% of 1% of the population. We do want to make a new document, but we're not going to do it the same way. We want to do it in this way. We could start making a new document and put it out as a draft in our own little community, but anybody can join. You don't have to sign up to join or anything. You could just follow, and that makes you a member, okay? So when we put out this draft, and before presenting it to the masses, mass population, asking for their support with a signature, it is an idea to move forward other than disorganized and potentially dangerous protests. I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there of a lot of angry people that want to protest. Think about it. Not one person would be danger of arrest or worse. It makes too much sense, and this is why I am attacked. We have tried all over this country with protests and rallies to gain new support, but for what? How is that working with planted F. Trudeau flags, vulgar material, horrifying freedom media with vulgar language, giant shaming sheep, adopted hate speech, and all of that sort? You see, we need to act like the people we expect to act put in positions of management. Do we agree with that? Maybe this is why I got the policeman tag, because when I helped organize 5,000 people for Canada Day last year at the KOA in Renfrew, we asked a simple ask. That owner is a personal friend of mine. 3 months earlier, she had asked me, Dana, if I hold something here, will you help protect me? I said, you have my word. So it didn't matter what happened to me. I gave her my word that I would protect her. So one thing to do with protecting her is that is a family park that has been around for a long, long time. Her park donates more money to children than any other KOA in North America. Okay, and by the way, that weekend that we were there, we donated $7,325 in cash. Thank you, sir. And she paid that herself. Okay, more than the cities or towns or anybody else pays. So we've tried this all over the country, and we've adopted these vulgar flags and swearing and all of this. In my personal life, I may swear now and then, but when I get up onto a stage to represent people, I absolutely will not swear. Okay? It is unbecoming, and it does not help. 1.5 minutes? Okay. So please take the time to go and just look at Canada Unity. Our webpage was taken down from an infiltrator that we had to remove. And that was one of the last things I wanted to say. Do you see any businesses or corporations at these rallies? Ever? Only political parties, right? Yeah. So I flew to Calgary recently and to meet Theo Fleury and Jamie Saleh and Chris Barber and people like this and talk to them. In Calgary, you see a lot of support from corporations and businesses and lawyers and stuff like this. I was amazed sitting around in that room feeling this big, because they have so much support. But in Ontario here, we have none. Have any of you gone to one of your businesses or your major corporations that are in your area and asked for support? It's an idea, isn't it? Okay. So, I mean, I could speak a lot. I could speak a lot. And instead of me speaking, I actually write a lot better. I don't speak very well. But if you do want to see my words, please go to my website.
What is it?
It's peace-man.ca. Okay? And if you want a picture, in case you forget, it's written on the picture. I was even demonized for giving out pictures of myself with my website on it, because I don't sell it. I give it away. It's not a book. It's not a movie that I sell. I will give away every bit of material I have, okay? Thank you very much for your time.